Okay, so I already see a glaring issue with using an old POS terminal as to control the DACTA Control Lab. For one, this is a very reflective screen, so that would be an issue to film. Maybe it'll do better once it's turned on. We'll see. I was going to upload this video to my personal channel since it's more technical related than Lego per se, but it is going to be used with Lego. This is what it's for. I wanted a solution to control the DACTA Control Lab with the official software with a touch screen, and this thing is one sealed complete unit. I don't have to have a monitor and the computer tower itself or whatever I end up using. This will just be a little bit of a smaller footprint and be a little more portable. So this is going to need to be disassembled. I need to clean it a little bit. It's not that bad, but I'll clean the touch screen, blow some of the dust out of it with an air compressor. Don't at me. And then I need to change some dip switch settings and just check a few things, and then install Windows XP and then put the Control Lab software on there. So fingers crossed. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so first I'm just going to briefly gloss over the base here. So it does tilt up and down. That's really the only freedom of movement it has. Inside of here, we have a 19-volt power supply. It has a 4-pin connector that plugs into the device. So it's got a standalone power supply. These are fairly cheap to replace if there was ever an issue with it. Much easier than some proprietary internal power supply. So I'm fine with this. So let's get this out of the way and look at the actual unit. And this is a J2615 POS terminal. So that's where it mounts to the base. And this is our I/O. So if I need a cache drawer for any reason, I've got that option. We've got 4 USB ports, a Ethernet port, 4 COM ports that are actually 10-pin. I forget the exact name or designation, but it's like Ethernet, but 10 pins instead of 8. We have a VGA out, and then that's our power input there, headphone jack, and our power button. So I'm gonna start getting this thing disassembled. Oh, and if we have use for a credit card reader, we can put it there. And then this is where our hard drive slides in. So that'll be the first thing to come out. This is the drive that was already in there. This most likely has Windows 7 on it. These terminals were updated to Windows 7 towards the end of their lifespan. It was probably for compliance with credit card companies to, Windows XP is a little bit old. So they didn't want you running it. So let me get a better camera angle and we'll start taking this apart. All right, so first we are going to remove that hard drive. These, I believe they can stay. It's been a long time since I've had one of these apart. But like I said, I was eventually responsible for keeping these running. It's been so long since I've done this. All right, there's no screws up top. I guess these have to come out. Maybe these? I hate taking crap apart like this. It's always much more difficult than it needs to be. Like, why not just let the plastic come up over these? You know why they do that? So you have to pay somebody some ridiculous amount to repair it instead of your IT guy. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. We're getting this. Yeah, okay. Yep. It's probably easier than the first time I took it apart because it's already been loosened up a little bit. Anything connected? No. Okay, so that's what that looks like. And that's what the internals look like. Looks like maybe that was an optional fan because there was like a grill here. I don't imagine it runs very hot. Yep. That feels better. All right, come on. Okay, so we've got these two here to disconnect. SATA and power. So that's good that it has a SATA connection. I'm glad for that. I don't need any IDE stuff. If you didn't know, they actually make SSDs in this form factor with a 2.5-inch IDE interface. Very handy in old laptops or maybe something like this. This should be, I believe it's a 2 gig module. That was something we had to upgrade when we were going to Windows 7. And while we're in here, like I said, this goes to a credit card reader. I'm just going to remove these. It's just going to get in the way if I ever have to open this back up again. So these can just be set to the side. And need to disconnect this ground here. And, you know, looking at it, I'm like, where the heck is the processor? It very well may be on the other side, and maybe it kind of uses this as a heatsink or something there. It's a 1.6 gigahertz Intel Atom processor, if I remember correctly. And there are a few jumper settings I need to look at, because there's a jumper to have power out on the VGA connection, as well as comms 3 and 4 to have power out. It shouldn't matter for these because they use pin 10 for power. Pin 1 is unused. So my plan, I'm just going to use a Cat 5 cable, and it'll get pins 2 through 9. So 1 and 10 won't be connected anyways. But just in case, I do have some of these original cables from J2 that go from this 10-pin interface to COM port. So if I wanted to use those, I don't want to forget that it has power and plug it into something. It shouldn't be an issue. They're normally wired where it's not going to damage anything, but I don't need it. I'm never going to need that, so I might as well disable it. And just while we're in here, this is going to be your high voltage board for the monitor. So this is a power inverter. The rest of the actual processing circuitry is going to be probably behind here. That's probably what that is there. And this is the touch controller here. So if I have problems with touch, I can replace this. If I have problems with the monitor not coming on at all, this backlight inverter board can be replaced. I like when things are serviceable. Like, I can only imagine what these look like nowadays. And right to repairs, facing such an uphill battle. You know, consumers and small businesses in general, or kind of losing, it seems like, but we'll see how things go. I generally don't have much faith in government, no matter who gets elected. That's as much as I'll say about that. So let me look at these dip switch settings and see what I need to do here. Okay, so for now, I didn't really mess with the jumpers. This is right here. You can't see it, but this is jumper JP9. That's what controls the power to the VGA. It's already off. This is for COM 3. It is connected to RI, whatever the heck that means. It's either 5 volts, 12 volts, or RI. So I just left it there. COM 4 is set to 12 volts. I'm just going to keep it there because I'm going to look and see what I can find. Apparently they have, I think it's 2x14 VFD displays, and maybe I could like make it scroll something, battery powered bricks across it or something. So I might look into that. It wasn't as dirty as I thought inside. I did blow it off with the air compressor a little bit. It was mostly the plastic housing that had some dust buildup, but it probably hadn't been that long since I had serviced it. So I'm going to take all these screws out along the outside, get this front bezel off, and then we got our trusty friend Windex to get the touchscreen, the corners kind of cleaned up. I feel like it's that LGR video where the same plane keeps flying over and over again. Congrats on getting your pilot's license, I guess. So it's not really cleaning up that great. I don't know how much of this is underneath. I don't know. It was mostly the corners I was trying to get because you have to have it disassembled to do anything there. It's never going to be perfect. I'm not that worried about it. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so I've left the two bottom corner screws out because I'm pretty sure that's after the back housing goes on, those go in. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together. At least this back cover. I'm probably not going to put the plastic housing on just yet. I want to start testing, make sure everything's okay with it. I didn't power it on since I've had it home. Pretty sure it works. I don't remember if it was... I'm generally pretty good about labeling things. One more up here. I'm just trying to keep it in place. It doesn't... I'm not really putting it back together yet. So I'm going to use the same hard drive. We'll just have to overwrite it. Alright, here goes nothing. Now that I think about it, I think I did power it up. Wow, you're not going to be able to see that at all. It's just really bad. That's a little better. I don't know what it's complaining about. F1 to continue what? You haven't done anything. Okay, so while we've still got a Windows 7 installed and we've got it booted up, this is the processor it has. It is an Intel Atom N270, codename Diamondville. So like I said, it's a 1.6 gigahertz processor. We have one core, 2 threads, so it does have hyper-threading, and you can see the CPU usage here. I'm pretty sure those are just not connected to show those temperatures. I'm pretty sure the CPU at 21 degrees, that's probably right. It's just so low power, it's just not going to take very much. And then I'm not sure what these others here. Well, okay, there's your core temps here. I don't know what temp 1 is. Not really that worried about it. And we've got 2 gigs of memory, which is going to be just fine for Windows XP. And we've got that beeping. I may disable that. I'm not sure how difficult that's going to be. It's probably in the ELO driver settings, I guess, because that's what this is. This is an ELO resistive touch monitor. So it's kind of like the industrial open frame ELO monitor I have upstairs. So that's it. I'm going to get Windows XP installed now. Okay, another update. Apparently I don't have XP on here. This is Yumi, a multi-boot USB. And I've got all kinds of stuff. I got Clonezilla, Gparted, UBC, but no Windows XP, I guess. Linux distributions. Ubuntu, Fedora. Nothing that helps me. I gotta go through my thumb drives. Maybe this has it. I don't know. And let me see what I got. Okay, so apparently it was never going to load from USB. It was stuck on setup is identifying your hardware, or whatever it is, and it just sat there for. I went upstairs. I checked my email, like responded to comments, and it was just stuck there. So using an external CD-ROM drive and trying to find a good XP disk. So here we are, listening to the old sounds of a CD drive. So, yep. All right, we're cooking with gas now, getting Windows XP installed. I finally found the right disk. I've already preloaded the drivers for this onto an old thumb drive. Hopefully they're good drivers. They weren't even really in English, and the site was somewhat sketchy. These drivers are going to be impossible to find if those don't work. And I also did some mental gymnastics here, trying to figure out the pin out from the 10-pin RJ45 connector to serial, and it needs to be crossover to work with the DACTA Control Lab. I'll probably talk more about that later, but I think I have it. Nothing to do now but to try it. But yeah, so I'm just trying to make use of my time while this is slowly installing. All right, there's going to be so many clips in this video. I wanted to show the sanity check I'm doing to make sure I'm not going to be doing anything crazy, trying to make a custom adapter. So this is plugged into the COM port. This is a 10-pin port, but you're perfectly welcome to use 8. Pin 10 is power, which we don't need. Pin 1 is not used at all. So this is a supported use case. So this is the adapter I made. Pretty sure I got these wire colors don't really mean anything. You know, I had to kind of start from one end. You know, your orange and white wire is pin 1, brown is pin 8, and I just had to follow it through from what J2 says the numbers are here, through here, and then figure out which color it goes to here and which pins I need to go to here. Because again, this is a crossover cable, so I actually had the transfer and receive swapped here. But as a sanity check, I'm going to take my multimeter and I'm just going to connect this to the chassis, the metal chassis. And then pin 5 here should be ground. So that's just a real quick way to say, you know, the pin out, none of the pin outs are backwards or upside down or whatever, because you never know. I'm always a bit paranoid with those kind of things. So at this point, I know I have a ground connection here. So the only thing that can go wrong from here, if I got everything else right, is pin 2 and 3 need to be swapped. But this should be correct. So I'm going to fire this back up, get my drivers installed, and then that'll be one of the last things we do is try to test the serial connection. Okay, I guess I'm just going to splice this in at some point, but why was I so obsessed with getting this working? So these are the 4 COM ports here, and I just love the idea of having just a single Cat5 cable, and then whatever device I have having one of these. Because otherwise, I would have a 10 or 8 pin to a serial cable, and then from there I'd have to use a null modem cable to go to here. And if that isn't the right length, doesn't happen to be, I have to use an extension, and it just kind of gets crazier from there. With this Cat5 cable, I can literally run this upstairs and it would probably connect. Like these connections are very good over long lengths, which differs very much from like USB. Use a USB extender, it's not gonna work if it's over a certain length. So this is awesome. You know, I can just plug in a Cat5 cable, make a custom length cable, and go wherever I need to a DACTA Control Lab or any other serial device. And that's why I went through all that I did to get this thing working. So here we are installing network drivers. Just look at this old install page. It kind of takes me back a little bit. The reason I'm installing network is not so it can be connected to the internet. It never will be. I have a separate subnet throughout my entire house that is strictly for local connections. So it can connect to the file server, transfer files. I can connect to it remotely with remote desktop software, that kind of thing, but it's not going to be connected to the internet. So we're just going through these one by one and trying to get everything installed. Okay, back again. I should have just set up a tripod for all this because this is so interesting. Every single one of these drivers is completely wrong, but they're right. Assuming this works. This is a Dell driver for some laptop that had a touchscreen. The chipset driver said something about Xeon processors. Like, everything's wrong, but so far everything is installed without issue. I have no idea what this is. Oh, manual. Okay, yeah. Install touch driver, English, and it's just doing its thing. I have no idea how this is installed internally. I'll just do both. But yeah, so somebody has already done the work here of, and I've done this before. You've got this crazy weird device, but you can't find a driver for it. So I've looked at chips on the motherboard and said, okay, this is this Realtek whatever, and then found drivers. A lot of times they're going to end up being weird Dell drivers and stuff like that. Oh, I don't know. There is 5 COM ports, so maybe the serial is on the COM port. I'm just gonna, I don't know. I'll play with this, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. Okay, so I went back and did an auto detect, and it pulled it up on COM 5. So we have the 4 COM ports down here. That's really interesting. So looks like this is gonna work. Okay, so here we are. It's the next day. This is my 3rd install of Windows XP, and I finally learned my lesson, but it was too late. As I was making changes to the operating system and getting drivers and everything installed, I made a backup image of the hard drive. So that's with Windows completely installed, and then as I would install drivers, I would make another backup of it. What was happening, first I thought it was a video driver because I kind of forced a video driver, and I thought that's why it wouldn't boot up. It was the touchscreen drivers. Like, what the heck, you know? It was, and this, not the Dell drivers that I installed first, but the official ELO drivers. It was the latest version of the old driver. I forget what they call it, legacy driver, you know? And it wouldn't allow the system to boot. So it's just, you know, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, it literally broke Windows completely, where safe mode wouldn't even work. So I eventually found another ELO driver, and we have a touchscreen now, and it works. Because there's no reason to do this without the touchscreen working, at least in my opinion. The entire idea of this is to have a portable solution for controlling the DACTA Control Lab. So I can use this down here in the garage, I can use it upstairs, or control a train layout, or monorail, or GVC, or whatever I'm doing that day. This can control it, and it can even do more than one control lab, although that would have to be with third-party software, and I'm not sure what all is going to work on Windows XP. So I got that figured out, and then you would not believe the mental gymnastics I did to get this adapter working. So I started with what I knew would be all I needed, you know, a ground, a transfer, and a receive. And because this is a null modem connection, the receive and transfer and transmit are swapped. This is all I need. And I spent hours and hours and hours trying to figure out why it wasn't working. This is all the work I did. This is the 10-pin port on there. This is the 8-pin wire I was using, and then, you know, this is this part, and then this is the actual pins on the 9-pin. I know you probably can't make sense of any of this, but yes, this is what I went through, and I connected every single cable, every single one of these. There was one pin that isn't used. All the rest of them, the DTR, DSR, blah 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 blah, got all that, the clear to send, all those connections, made sure that they were reversed as they should be in a dual modem cable, and it still didn't work. And, you know, I was just beating my head in trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And then I realized something, and I knew this. I've been through this before. This is the back of the housing there, and if you look at it, COM1's on the left, right? Except for now it's on the right. So I was plugged into the wrong port on the bottom of the device. So all that to say, it's working now. So this is our motor here. We can run the motor. We have a sound device on port B. And then we've got some sensors here. But the entire idea of this is to, let's make a button so we can, so nice big old button. Button 1, that's fine. So let's say when this button is pressed, talk to motor A on for 20. Okay. And it will run for 20, which is 20 is 2 seconds. It's in deciseconds, whatever it is, tenths of a second. So this is great. You know, I can use this. You know, I can read sensors and graph sensors. Whoops. Put a graph in here. Make this a little bigger. Hopefully you can see that. Let's say I want to graph angle 6, which is this angle sensor here. Let's just set this to 100 and then click that. And we should be able to, what is happening here? Oh, I was going the wrong way. So now I can graph the movements of the angle sensor in relation to time. So this can be used with temperature sensors or anything. You know, you can do so much with this. I might end up using this to test some third-party motors and things, and I'll be able to use the angle sensor to try to get, maybe not necessarily RPM readings, but to be able to compare different ones. Maybe just how many revolutions they'll do in a given time, like run a motor for 20 seconds and see how it does. So I'm very happy to add this to my arsenal of tools. It was definitely a long, broken road to get here, but we finally got there. So I'm gonna get this thing put back together. I'm not even gonna put all this on camera. Just, you know, throw the back on and clean up the base and everything, and take a picture for the thumbnail. And I'm done with this project for now. I can't believe all the things I went through to get this working. And again, I am a little bit curious about what accessories I could use with this, because POS terminals, they have a monitor that goes on the back. I believe it's not touchscreen, but it's powered over the VGA port. I don't think I'd have any use for that. They have like LCD screens, which I don't think I could do much for, but I could at least make it say something cool or something, you know. Like just have like a little customer LCD display that says, you know, like and subscribe. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This isn't, you know, the normal thing for this channel, but it kind of is, you know. Like I said, I debated on putting this on my personal channel because it's more computery than it is Lego stuff, but it is going to be for Lego, and it is going to be appearing in videos from here on out. And I want to thank each and every one of you who made it this far. You're the real MVP. We'll see you in the next one, and remember to play well.